The Hedgeless Horseman here again. This is the second video of today, May 2nd, 2022. I just wanted to do a short follow-up on the last video and the video before that, where I discussed the fact that since we know we will have a sentiment high sometime in the future, it means that the longer a sentiment low and the bottom is ongoing, etc., the buy opportunity gets better and holding becomes more important than selling. Basically, buying goes up in value, holding goes up in value, while selling goes down in value, because we inevitably get one day closer to the next sentiment high. And of course, that also goes for price going down. The best buying opportunity would be for time having passed and price having gone down, because then we will start from an even lower level and we will be closer to the next sentiment high. Obviously, this again will be the point where max pain is inflicted and most people will not be able to buy or hold, but would rather sell and therefore make the worst sell decision they can make at the same time as someone is making the best buy decision they can make. And there will be very few that actually have the stomach to buy and realize everything I've talked about. And just also to point out how typically the markets work, especially in the mining sector at least. I mean, if you look at these, just Bear Creek Mining here, for example, it took this amount of time to reach this level here, 507 days, but a much shorter time period to actually get up to the same level. And from that top, it took 887 days to reach this low here, but it only took, I don't know, a bit over half the time to get back to the same level, which again kind of proves my point. The longer into a correction, all else equal, the better buys become, and the lower they go, the buys get even better, because you're starting off from a lower level, obviously. So there's a more upside to the next sentiment high. So again, this buy here will be better than this buy here because more time has passed, so we're this much closer to the next sentiment high. So even though the returns are the same, the compounding is not the same, because you will have this return in a shorter time frame than if you bought here. So again, the more time passes, the lower it goes, the better, because the future compounding will just be going up exponentially, since we know we will hit a high. And you can see that in the GDXJ as well. I mean, if we look at this period here, it took this amount of time, which was 807 days, to go from this level down to this bottom. But it only took 209 days, so less than 1/4 of the time, to actually go from this bottom up back up to this level. So again, the more time that has passed in a correction and the lower price goes, the worse selling becomes. And from this here, another example, it took 573 days to go from this level down to this level, but only 356 days, or actually less than that, 335 days to get back to that level. So not half, but kind of close to it. And even if we take this top down to this bottom, it took let's say 763 days that's a long correction, obviously. Very long correction. Uh, to go from this level down to this level, but to go back to that level took quote only 600 and yeah, okay, unlucky number, let's say 665 days. Not much, but something. uh, and you sometimes have these like corresponding, I mean, this basically went up as fast as this went down. So here you have actually a 1-to-1 time ratio. Uh, but here, for example, it took only 51 days to go from this level to this, but it took 233 days to go back to the same level. And here you can see now, for example, I mean, this to go from this level to this exact level. I mean, one could. I mean, this is arbitrary, obviously, but like I think. I mean, my main point is again that if you look at some of the behavior in there, for whatever reason, I'm guessing that it's because fear and greed works in different ways. And during bottoms, for example, there's more. It takes time to churn through all the sellers who basically sell just because time has passed, and because price has gone down. So there's a lot of, like, I don't know, weak hands that need to get flushed out. So it takes longer, I think, for corrections to bottom out than for. Then there's more, let's say, distribution when we go higher, and it appears. I mean, typically, this top here is basically an event. This was obviously a grind. This was similar grind to this, and in my opinion, like I remember showing, that this bottom here reminds me of this bottom here. You can see the kind of same pattern, you know, almost like a head and shoulders bottom during a bottom, which looks kind of like this one here. I don't know why, but again, I think this is another example why pretty much I do believe this is very correct for many different reasons. That the longer a correction goes on, the better the buy is, because we get closer to the next sentiment high, and for some reason, let's say, it appears that I mean, when greed really kicks off, it goes quick, basically, quicker typically than fear sets in. Again, for whatever reason, obviously we have a flash crash here, which is kind of hard to. I mean, that retraced the movement pretty much as quickly as it went down. But that this was an anomaly. So again, I mean, the longer this correction goes on, the lower price goes, the closer we get to the next upturn, and the lower we start, the higher the future returns. So we are obviously in a correction. I mean, it might have ended here actually, and we might be seeing. I mean, this point might as well be this point, and you know, a week or so from now, we might have a ripper, which brings us back to this. So we can, if you know, history rhymes, let's say, maybe we do something like this, and we go. Have a retrace again, like this, maybe a bit stagnant, and then assuming there's no flash crash, which might happen. I mean, there are black swans everywhere, obviously. You know, it might really get going, and we break past this high. So again, all we know is that juniors especially are low. They are low. So it's like, am I buying? Of course I'm buying. That's like, main part of my plan. Buy low, sell high. Buy cheap, sell high. So I don't know how long this will be cheap. If it's a week, 6 months, or a year, but that doesn't change. I can change my strategy based on. I mean, if this just gets cheaper and cheaper or stays cheap for a long time, I can't just throw my plan out the window, because my whole plan is to buy cheap and sell high. And by definition, the buys just get better and better, assuming a fixed valuation, because we're getting closer to the next sentiment high. So if I stick to my plan, that just makes it a better buy as time passes, not a worse one, not one that, no, okay, I should switch my plan up. No, no, no. Now, if I change my plan, then I'm not buying low or selling high. I'm buying low and selling low. I mean, how are you going to make money by buying low and selling low, or buying low and selling even lower? No, that's not how it works. So I mean, if I had to guess, I can see myself, basically being in auto buy mode for 6 months to a year, unless something happens. I mean, if we in 6 months are up here, obviously that's not a auto buy anymore. But it's like this period is actually easy for anyone with a buy low sell high plan, because it's so obviously low. And like I said in previous video, there shouldn't really be any confusion unless you have a plan that is other than buying low and selling high, because it doesn't get more obvious that this is low. It can't really get much lower. I mean, if you look at strategic metals, for example, that's already trading, I think, below cash and marketable securities. So it's like, that's not even up to debate that that's cheap. So if you get a lot of stuff for free, it's cheap, we're low, so the risks are to the upside. That's just how it is. And again, this was cheap here, still went cheaper, and then the rocket. This was cheap here already, went lower, then the rocket. We might go lower first and then the rocket. We might go sideways and then low and then the rocket. We might go sideways, rocket. We might rocket tomorrow, we might rocket in a week. I don't know, but it's right now it's very obvious. It's very easy to stick to. It's very easy to know what to do if you have a plan that entails buying low and selling high. And again, it's my observation that typically the rewards come late, obviously. After you must have a correction before you can have outsized returns, and typically it feels like the returns are actually on average more compacted, concentrated in time relative to the prior pain. So that's also something to think about, that when the ship changes course, let's say, and starts to go up, it tends to move quicker than it took to grind lower. Yep. Thanks for listening. Bye.